starting from today.
Okay, okay, okay. When
Yeah,
is the
but I
marriage?
have it's so there's two events, brother. There's one on the 22nd and one on the 24th. But you know how Desi weddings, there's more events before and after.
Okay. I think
I
at
have one
least.
hour free.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, okay. I think it's similar to India, like Sangeet event, Mehendi event, huh?
Yes. Exactly. Mehendi. Exactly.
Like maybe as similar to all South Asian people are the same similarities in marriage also.
Yes. You know how they have haldi also, haldi event.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yes,
So
Haldi,
yeah.
Sangeet, Mehendi. Mm?
Yes. Exactly. The
Uh,
yeah.
okay. Do you know Bengali? How to speak Bengali?
Yes. But I know how to speak Bengali.
Okay, your mother tongue in your home, you speak with the parents with Bengali, huh?
No, in my house I speak Hindi, brother, because we have family from both sides. So in my house we all speak Hindi.
You know Hindi?
Yes. I know Hindi, brother.
Why don't you tell me? Okay. हिंदी अच्छा आता है क्या आपको बहुत पता है?
जी बिल्कुल ऐसा है.
नहीं समझ में आता है आपको?
हाँ समझ में
My
आता
mother
है.
tongue is Urdu.
Oh, Urdu. Okay.
It is almost a similar to Hindi. That is आपको कुछ
Yeah. Hindi and Urdu are like the same. It's just a
same
little different.
same. Most
Yeah.
of the thing is same. So I speak
Yeah.
Urdu and I speak Hindi also very much. I think because of my Indian, so I speak Hindi
Yes.
also.
Yes.
Okay. Apart from what, I have a local language also there here.
Yeah.
Okay. So next move on to the next topic is the Azure Virtual Networking. Okay, I have some other concepts are there regarding Azure. What are that? Azure. Previously we had discussed about Azure Enter ID. So we will discuss that also. Okay. So now we're going to
Yes.
discuss about Azure Virtual Networking. Virtual Networking. Okay.
Networking. Yeah.
Here in the AWS, we have a VPC there. We have VPC. VPC stand for Virtual Private Cloud, which provides a
Cloud. Yes.
separate virtual on-premise, like same on-premise data center, like that. It will provide the virtual network to you. It will deploy your resources. You can deploy your resources, and the isolated. We have a network is there. We can deploy resources. Same thing here. VPC is known as virtual network here. It is known as the virtual network. Okay.
Okay.
So this is the virtual network. Here what happens in the Azure and AWS, in AWS there is already predefined one VPC is there. Whenever you deploy resource, it will be created under the default VPC.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas here you don't have any VPC here because you don't have virtual network. Whenever you create a resource, the Azure will automatically create a virtual network.
Okay.
In AWS we have a separate virtual network is there, that is VPC. That was not created by us. Okay. Whenever you create a
Yeah.
EC2 instance, the EC2 instance defaultly launch in the inside the default VPC. Here you don't have any default VPC. You don't have any default VPC here.
VPC.
Whenever you
Yeah.
create a virtual machine or any resource like Azure storage or any resource, the Azure virtual network is automatically created.
Okay.
It will be different. Suppose I create one virtual machine, I create another virtual machine. It will be different virtual network will be created. Two different network virtual network. First one, whenever I create virtual machine, it will be created a separate virtual network. If you create another virtual network, then it will be under the another virtual network. Understand? Whereas in AWS, whenever create a must, or if you don't create a customized VPC, means that whenever you create an instance, all VPCs under the same, all instances in the same VPC only, same VPC only. Here, here different issue. Here different thing is there. Whenever you create a virtual machine, it will be created under the one virtual network. Again, I create another virtual network, and the virtual machine it will create another network. Both are different. Both are different. If you
Okay.
create a same
Different.
resource group, it will be under the same network. If you create a same resource group, if you create a same
Mm-hmm.
resource group, under the same resource group, you create a virtual machine, it will be in the same virtual network. Same virtual network. Here, virtual network, whenever you create, you don't have any predefined virtual network like AWS. Here, when you create a resource, automatically AWS will create a, sorry, Azure will create a default virtual network. Okay? Understand? Whenever you delete a virtual machine, Azure network will also delete it. Understood? Here, I just go to the resource group here. Let me create one virtual machine. When create a one virtual machine. When you create a virtual machine, what happens here? Automatically, Azure will create a virtual network. Inside this virtual network, the virtual machine will run. Virtual machine will run. Okay? Understand? Here, I just go to the resource group, click a create resource group, click on the resource group name, and just giving the name as a VMRG, and review, click on the review create, click on create. Now create a resource, you go to the virtual machine, click on the virtual machine, click on create, select the resource group, give the name as a VM1. Here I selected a no infrastructure redundancy. I selected a standard. I selected Ubuntu. Instead of SSH public key, I selected password and just given the username as a user Azure user. And this is a password. Here, when you click on this one, have a networking part is there. During the virtual machine created, during the virtual machine creation, one default virtual network created by the Azure itself. Okay, this is a
Okay.
default network. It is created by the Azure itself. Azure itself. Understand? Okay.
Yeah.
So one is when security group like in AWS, it is known as the NSG here. It is known as the network security group. Where AWS is
Okay.
known as only security group, here it is known as the NSG. It is a network security group. Network security group. Okay. If you
Mhm.
see here, it is already picked one virtual network. Okay, want to create a virtual network here, I was can create the virtual network also. Here, whenever you create a virtual machine, defaultly Azure will create a virtual network and Azure will create one subnet. This is a subnet. Okay. Okay, this is a subnet. Okay. So whenever you create a virtual machine, it will create a virtual network also. Okay, no, you don't need to create separately. You don't need to create it separately. But another thing is that
Mhm.
when you delete the virtual machine and virtual network also deleted. Whereas in AWS, when you delete the EC2 instance, the virtual network won't delete. You got it?
Yeah.
Here, whenever you create a virtual machine, it the virtual network also creates along with the virtual machine. When you delete the when you delete the resource group, virtual network, virtual machine, everything is deleted. Whereas in AWS, when you delete the virtual machine, the virtual network won't delete it. It is predefined and it's there. Okay.
Yeah.
In
Mhm.
AWS, if you delete the default virtual network, you want to able to connect to the EC2 machine. You understand? There, if you delete the default virtual network in AWS, the second time when you create EC2 instance, you won't able to connect because you don't have virtual network. Then how will you connect to EC2? No possibilities there. That is difference here and there. Understand? Remaining
Okay.
thing are same. Remaining thing are the same. It is like on-premises data center. Like it will provide the isolated network to deploy resources. Same thing. Like VPC, you have the same thing. Here, when you review and
Mhm.
create, it will create a virtual machine, and it will give the IP address range of 10.0.0.24. This is a default one, and this is a default network. When you click on review and create, it will create a virtual machine. Inside the virtual machine, inside this virtual network, that is virtual network is VM1 VNet 1. It will create Azure will create itself, and this Azure will keep this virtual machine inside this virtual network, inside this
Okay.
virtual network. Understand?
Mhm. Yeah.
When you delete this thing, then everything is deleted. Everything is deleted. Every time when you
Mm.
create here separate virtual network, it is no predefined virtual network there here. When AWS you have predefined one virtual network is there, but here you
Okay.
don't have any predefined network. Okay. Whenever you create a resource, the network will be created. Okay. When deleted, again I created, again virtual network is created. Understand?
Yeah.
Here, if you see that create a resource virtual network, just go to the type here virtual network. Type here the virtual network. It is like a same as a VPC. It is like a same as a VPC.
VPC.
This is a little bit easy. You don't need to create a route table, and we don't need to like in the Azure in AWS. We need to create a route table, and we need to have attach the route table with subnet. But you don't have to know. You don't need to do this here. Just create a virtual network subnet. That's it. You understand?
Okay. Yeah.
Where we need to create a virtual, first we need to create a virtual network, then we need to create a subnet, then we need to create a route table, then this route table need to be attached with the internet gateway, then this internet gateway attached with the route table and a subnet. But you don't need to don't need to do this. Automatically Azure will do
o-
that. Okay, you need to create only
Okay.
virtual network and subnet only. Okay,
Okay.
whereas here NAT gateway concept is there. NAT gateway concept, NAT
Okay.
gateway. Same thing like
Yes.
NAT gateway in AWS, here have a NAT gateway also there.
Okay.
It's taking time. 1 minute. So now I'm going to create a virtual network. Okay. Now I'm going to create a virtual network. To create here
Mm-hmm.
the virtual network in Azure, go to the type in search bar, type virtual network, then click on create here. In Google, it is known as VPC again. Okay.
Okay.
In
Yeah.
Google, it is known as VPC. Okay. In like
Mm-hmm.
AWS, virtual private cloud or virtual network is known as VPC. In Google Cloud also VPC. But here the
Okay.
name is virtual network.
Virtual. Okay.
It is taking so much of time. So here same concept like public network, private network, okay, and then having a multiple types of IP address are there. IP address are like having VP, V4 and V6. It can support IP V4 and V6. Again, IP address are five types: Class A, Class B, Class C, Class D. Huh? How many
Yeah.
types of IP address are there? Class A, Class B, Class C, Class D, Class C.
D.
A start from 0 to 127, B starts from 128 to 191. So C starts from 192 to 223, D starts from 224 to 239.
Yeah.
E from the 240 to 55. E
Mm-hmm.
from the 240 to 55. 240 to 255. Okay. 240
Yeah.
to 255. And the same thing have a public network is there, private network is there. Public network is directly connected to the internet, mean that we'll directly connect to internet means we can access the machine inside the public network. Whereas the machine is there, the virtual machine is there in private network, you don't have any access. You don't have any access. Same thing.
Access.
Same thing. In AWS, like same thing. In AWS, I told you that every network you have need to like have a minus IP addresses there. Where if you take a slash value 20 slash value 20 in there, we need to minus 5 IP address. I told you that in VPC we need to every network have a exclude the 5 IP addresses. Same thing Azure also. If you take any network, that 5 IP addresses are excluded. 5 IP addresses are excluded.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'll just show you that how it is happen. If we take a IP address, one network, I take an IM network, 192.168. This network start from 192.168.0.1, ends with this network 192.168.0.255. Okay. In this one,
Mm-hmm.
here start from 0 to 55. This 0 is excluded. and 255 is excluded. This is known as the network address. This is known as the network address, and this one is the broadcast address. This one is the broadcast address. This is the broadcast address.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, understand? This is the broadcast address.
Yeah.
In this one, again, again, 192.168.0.1, comma 0.2, comma 3, 3. These are excluded. They are reserved for the cloud network in AWS. The same here,
Okay.
Azure also. In Azure,
Okay.
every network, 5 IP addresses are excluded. These IP addresses are used for the internal connectivity. Internal connectivity. Any network, if you take not only any network, not only 192.168, any network, if you take any network, it will have a 5 IP addresses which are excluded. Why it is not loading?
Okay.
It is not loading. 1 minute. Why they can stay in time? It taken a lot of time. I don't know that what happens here. When you
Mm-hmm.
click on virtual networking, it is loading. Still loading, loading, loading. Here we can take an IP address, only private IP address only we can take here. Like, we don't know what are the private IP addresses are there. And is the 10 dot. Show that. What are the private IP addresses? Inside the data center, we can use only private IP address. We don't even use any public IP address. These are private IP address range. These are the private IP address range. For any VPC, that is any virtual network, we need to pick these IP addresses only. If you take another IP address, it won't accept. These are the private IP
Okay.
address range. What are the range is there? 10.0.0, 10.0.0. Here, see this 10.0.0 to 10.255.255. Another one is the 170.0.0, 170.31.255.255, 190.168. Only these IP address only we can give. It won't accept. Other than this private IP address, it won't accept in that Azure Virtual Network. Any AWS also, but AWS will take another one also, no problem. But generally, it takes only here these three only. If you take a class A, it is having a 2 per 24 host bits, whereas in class B having 2 per 16 host bits, whereas in class C it is having 2 per 8 host bits. 2 per 8 host bits. Here, mm, shit. Taking a lot of time. I don't know what happened. When I
Hmm.
click on virtual network, still loading. I'm trying to log into other account.
Okay.
Now, okay. Huh? Okay. Now create a virtual network. How to create a virtual network here? The resource group already created here. What is the virtual network name here? Want to give the virtual network name. I'm just giving the virtual network name as a custom VN. Custom VN. Okay. And which region I want to deploy? I selected a East West 2. In the security, I want to add like Bastion and an encryption. We'll learn later this one. Here it asking for the IP address. When you create a automatically when you create a virtual network, it will pick the IP address 10.0.0.0. Another one is this it will pick 10.0.2, 10.0.0.2, 10.0.255, and this is a subnet. This is the subnet. Okay, one subnet is
Hmm.
created. Okay, when the subnet is created, I want to create another subnet. Then click on here, delete address space. We can delete and we can create another subnet. So here this is the subnet range, and here the subnet. This is the subnet. This is subnet. Instead of that, I want to change here. I want to change here. I can change to the 172.16.0.0. Okay. So now it will change to the 172.16.0./24. We can use either 10.0.0.0, either I can use 172.16.0.0, either I can use 192.168.0.0. These three networks only you can pick. Other than any one, it will take, if you take the IP address, it won't accept. It will accept only these three IP addresses because of this private IP address. Here I take an IP address as 172.16.0.0, and the slash value is 16, and subnet is here, subnet is 24. Here I want to make edit here, just click on this default. I want to make this subnet name. Okay, just click on this default. Okay, there are multiple subnet purpose in there. We'll learn later what is the best in all this thing. Okay, here the subnet
Okay.
name. I want to give the subnet name. Here I'm giving the subnet name as custom subnet. I'm giving the name as a custom subnet. Okay, custom subnet.
Yeah.
Here I want to keep the subnet size as slash 24. when you select the slash 24, how many values are there? 256, because of contains 2 power 8. 24 network bits and 8 host bit. How many bits are there? 32 bits. In this 32 bits minus 24. Minus 24 means network bits are 24. Minus 32 minus 24 is how much? 8 bits. 2 per 8 is how much? 256. How
Yeah.
many? 256. Okay.
Mhm. Mhm.
Now review and create. I just create. I want to create another subnet. I can click on here also. We can add the another subnet. There is an option is there. We can add another subnet also. I just click on the review and create. Just click on the review and create. I created a virtual network, and this IP address range is 172.16.0.0. Inside this virtual network, I created one subnet. And subnet range is 172.16.0.0 slash 24. Now slash 24. Now I'm going to deploy my resource inside the customized virtual network. Customized virtual network. Generally, it will take time, load very slowly. It won't happen quickly like AWS. AWS,
Okay.
whenever you just click, it will create instantly. But it won't happen here. Okay,
Okay.
now I created virtual network. Now I created which one? Custom virtual
Good.
network.
Good.
Now I want to create another subnet. You can check here this network under the settings. You can check here. There is address space is there. Which address space I have taken? I have taken the address space as 172.16.0.0. Either I can take 10.0.0.0, either I can take 172.16.0.0, either I can take 192.168.0.0. These thing only it accepted by the Azure. Other than any IP address, it won't accept. Okay?
Okay.
Other than
Mhm.
any IP address won't accept, because it will accept only the private IP addresses. That is RFC standards. According to RFC standard, these three IP address ranges only it will accept. I just selected 172.16.0.0. Okay. In this one, if you select a subnet here, there is one subnet is there. What is the subnet name here? Default subnet. I told you that 5 IP addresses are excluded. How many left are there? 251. For subnet range is the slash 24 I had taken. What is slash 24? 24 means network bits are 24. Total number of bits of IP address range is 32. That is 32 minus 24 is 8 bits. 8 bits means 2 per 8 equivalents to 256. In this 256 minus 1 minus 5, it becomes the 251 only. Understand? Either I
Yeah.
want to create another subnet, I can create another subnet also. Just go to the another subnet. Here, I want to create another subnet. And here automatically picked. You don't need to select this one. Automatically it was picked. Now I want to give the name as a subnet to. Name as a subnet to. Then add. Then add. Okay.
कैसी दिल लगी.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now I can check here. Two subnets are there. One is default subnet and the other one is subnet. This one also I change. This net also I'll change this name. Okay. This is the default subnet and this is the another subnet. I created a two subnet. I created how many subnet? Two subnet. Here I want to deploy virtual machine inside the customized virtual network. You go to the virtual machine here. Click on create here. Click on virtual machine.
Mhm.
You don't need to create subnet. You need to create only virtual network and subnet. You don't need to create route table and you don't need to attach all these things. It is internally done by the Azure. You don't need to do that. Understand? In
Yeah.
AWS, we need to create a virtual machine. We need to create a VPC. Under the VPC, we need to create a subnet. We need to create a route table. Again, we need to
Yeah.
create internet gateway. We need to attach the
Yeah.
internet gateway and route table to the this one. But you don't need to do this here. You don't need it. Just create a VPC and the subnet. That's it. Okay.
Okay.
Internally, it will create it. AWS Azure will create. No need to create. Suppose I want to
Okay.
create a external route table, external thing, you can do that. That can also we can do. But internally, whenever we created a custom network in AWS, we need to create a route table and we need to create a internet gateway. then this route table and internet gateway attached with the subnet where in AWS. But you don't need to do the here. Okay, you just need to create only virtual network. We need to create only subnet only. Remaining things
Okay.
taken by Azure here. Okay.
Okay.
Now I'll just give the
Mhm.
virtual machine name as Azure VM custom. VM custom. Then here select the resource group. If you don't select a resource group, it will create another virtual network. Do you understand?
Yeah.
If you don't select a resource group, what happens here? Automatically it will pick a new virtual network. It will pick a new virtual network. I selected a VM RG here. Then no infrastructure redundancy. Here standard. Then click on this one. Remaining this one, just go to the password here. Give the username,
Mhm.
password, because I selected a password. Custom password. I don't want to keep this as public key. Just here, name the username is Azure user. Paste. Then click on the networking here. If you click on the networking, where you can find the name of the network. What is the network of our name? Custom VM. You can see here custom VM. Okay, the name virtual network name had given the custom here. In this one, which subnet you want to select here? It's selecting. It is showing two subnets. One is the default subnet, which is created by us. Another one is subnet 2. Is the subnet 2. Suppose I want to deploy virtual machine in this subnet 2. As I select the subnet 2. Okay, subnet 2, and automatically public IP address is assigned here. Click on the review create. Click on the review create. Now I created a virtual machine inside the custom virtual network inside the subnet 2. Inside the subnet 2. Okay.
Yeah.
Another thing
Mhm.
is there, if we create a virtual machines in different subnet, there is internal communication is there. Like VPC is there in AWS. We have two network are there. Internally, when you create a subnets inside that one virtual network, you don't need to enable the external communication. It automatically communicated to each other. Both subnets are communicated to each other because we have created the same network. Under the same network, when you create a subnet, they will internally communicate it. No need to have external communication. But I want to create two different network, two different virtual communication. We need to do the peering, VPC peering in AWS. Here also peering concept is there. That is virtual network peering. Where it is one of the VPC peering, here I am a VNet peering. VNet peering. Just click on create here. Now create a virtual machine inside the customized virtual network. Inside the customized virtual network.
Yeah.
Then IP address I picked here. Okay. What are the IP address we can choose? Only three we can choose. Okay. These three IP address range we can choose. It won't accept the other IP addresses.
Mhm.
Okay. These are the IP address range accepted by the Azure. Three IP address range. One is that 10 series. So these IP addresses. These three only it accept, brother.
Mhm.
Which one? These three. 10, 172, 192. If you don't pick any, if you don't pick default, it will keep 10. Default will keep 10. Okay.
10. Okay. Mhm.
Now you can check here the virtual networking. Now go to the resource here. Now you can check the machine here. This is the public IP address, and you can check the public IP address here. Again, you have under the networking. Here, see this. We created a custom VNM. That is what is the subnet name? What is the virtual network name? Custom VN. Under this custom VN, we are deployed under the subnet 2. And this is the IP address range. What is the IP address range picked here? 172.16.0.1.0. It starts from 172.160.1.0 to it ends with 172.16.1.255. 4. See that 0, 1, 2, 3 are excluded. It starts from 4, ends with the 255. Understand? This you understand this one? It starts from 4. Why it start from 4? Because the first one dot 0 172.60.1.0 is excluded. 172.160.1.1 it excluded. 1.2 also excluded. 1.3 also excluded. 1.255 also excluded. These 5 MPTs are excluded. Remaining only 251 left, and it will start from 1.4. Even AWS also the same thing. Every network 5 MPTs are excluded in AWS, Azure, Google Cloud, any cloud. Okay, they are for internal communication. They are for the internal communication. Now how many APIs left? 251. If you take a value slash 24, if you take a slash 20 value, then how many bits are there? 32 bits are there. So 32 minus 20, how many host bits are there? 2 power 12. 2 power 12 host bits are there. 2 power 12 value equals to 4096. Again from the 4096, I'll just minus here 4091 IP address will be there. How many IP address will be there? 4091. Okay, 401. Now I can check here. I create a virtual machine inside the custom virtual network. Inside the customer virtual network, I created a subnet 2. I created subnet 2. Okay, if you check here another want to create another subnet, I just go to the virtual network here. Go to the virtual network here. Again, under the virtual network, this is the virtual network. Okay, there are multiple things are there. What is the virtual network here? Custom VM. In this virtual network, you have 2 subnets are there. I want to create a new subnet. Then I will name it as a subnet 3. I will name it as subnet 3. Instead of 24, if instead of 24 I take 4020, okay, if it 10 is instead. So less than this value not taking here. Class 20 is not accepting. To accept only 24. Not accepting, brother. It is only taking only 24. Actually, in AWS, you can do the slash 20 value also. This is the 16 value, and we have a 20 value is there, but it is not accepting, only accepting 24. Now I create another subnet. Now click on the subnet. Now created another subnet. Now created another subnet. Okay. There are 3 subnets are there. Like that, we can create a 3 subnet. Okay. Again, when you want to launch the instance or a virtual machine inside the virtual network, we can launch. Inside the virtual network, we can launch. Understand? Okay. So here, this is the virtual network creation. Like VPC, in AWS VPC, we created a VPC. Then inside the VPC, we created a virtual network, subnet, and route table, and an internet gateway. Here also we create a virtual network. Inside the customized virtual network, we deployed a one resource called virtual machine. I want to deploy another virtual machine, we can deploy the virtual machine in the same subnet, also in the different subnet also. The same subnet and a different subnet also. Understand? So what is my virtual network? What is my virtual network? What is virtual network? Like an on-premises data center, how we create a network where we keep all resources isolate from one network to other network. Same thing here. We can create all resources under the virtual network. We keep isolated from one network to other network by creating the virtual network. Segregate resource from one network to other network, creating virtual networks. Okay. So inside the virtual network, we need to create a subnet. Here also the same concept is there in Azure. We have a public subnet, we have a private subnet is also there. We have a public subnet and also private subnet also there. Okay, where the public subnet is there, private subnet is there. When you create a private subnet, you don't have internet. Okay, we don't need to have internet. Okay, we don't need to assign any IP address. Okay, whereas when you create a private public network, we are going to assign the public IP address. This when you create a private inside the private network, the virtual machine is created. There is no IP address will be there. There is no IP address there. Like that in AWS, you don't have any IP address. So one public network is there, private network is there. Public network is associated with public IP address where we can connect to the internet. Whereas private network doesn't have any public IP address, so mean that we can't connect to any internet. Mean that we don't have internet connectivity. Okay. So here how to create a delete created a virtual network. We just learned that. Then we go to the virtual network how to delete this one. To delete this one, we don't need to do this individually. Instead of that, I will going to create a going to delete the resource group. It will delete everything. It will delete the every resource, every resource. Go to the resource group. Select this resource group. Click on the resource group. Select all resources. Click on the delete resource group. It will delete the everything like virtual machine, public IP address, virtual network, subnets, everything it will be deleted. No, I understand what is my virtual network? Hello? Are you muted? Are you there, brother? I am deleting the virtual group or resource group here. Are you there?
Yes, yes, yes. I was muted, brother. Sorry.
Do you understand that how to create a virtual network?
Yes, yes, yes.
It's not but difficulty. Like in AWS, we don't have any like multiple options are there.
Yeah,
Simply we create a virtual network and we need to create subnet. When AWS have a complicated, like where we need to
yeah,
create route table and internet gateway attachment table, nothing is there here. Whenever you create a subnet,
yeah.
route table and internet gateway, everything is created by Azure itself. Azure itself. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So it is like a same VPC. It is like a same VPC. Okay.
VPC.
Okay. So inside this virtual network, we're going to deploy our resources. Deploy our resources. Deploy resources.
Yeah.
Here in the AWS, we had learned about the multi-tier architecture. In the multi-tier architecture, we have two subnets are there. One is the public subnet, second is the private subnet. One is the private
Mm-hmm.
subnet. In the public subnet, inside the public subnet, the EC2 instance have a connect to the internet. Whereas in private subnet, you don't have internet. Mean that from wherever the resources inside the private network, you don't have internet connectivity. You don't have a internet connectivity.
Okay. Okay.
So
Okay.
same theorem here also in Azure also we can do that. Okay, but thing is there where in AWS you don't have any separate bastion service. What is my bastion service? I want to create a if the virtual machine is there in private, it is not possible to connect from the internet because if you don't have internet from your laptop, it is not possible to connect to the private virtual machine. For that
Mm-hmm.
one, first we need to log into the public network. Inside the public network, I have virtual machine is there. From the virtual machine,
Mm-hmm.
I need to take the remote desktop of the private network in AWS. Okay. In AWS, you don't
Mm-hmm.
have any bastion service, mean that you will provide the connectivity to the public to private. You will connect the public to private connectivity by using a bastion service, a jump box. You don't have any service there in the AWS, separate service. But in Azure, having a separate service is there. Having a separate
Okay.
service is there. Mean that
Mm-hmm.
if the instances are then private network, we're going to create a Azure Bastion platform as service. By using Azure Bastion service, we'll connect to the, even though the virtual machines are in the private, we can connect through Bastion service. We can connect the Bastion service. There is no separate service there in the Bastion service there in the AWS, but here having a separate service for the Bastion. Okay, separate service for the Bastion. That is known as the Azure Bastion. That is known as the Azure
Okay.
Bastion. If the
Yes.
instances or resources on the private, how will you access to the internet connectivity? How will you provide the connectivity? By using one service called Azure Bastion service. Azure Bastion service.
Bastion service.
So
Mm-hmm.
this Azure Bastion service is fully managed platform as service solution for secure, seamless RDP SSS access from Azure VM without having a public IP address or agent or special software. Directly connect from the Azure Bastion service. This service is not there in the AWS. The service is not there in AWS. In AWS, how will you
Okay.
connect? First, we need to connect. First, we log into the public. Inside the public network, I need to connect one EC2 machine. From the EC2, I'll just make a remote login to the private instance. Okay.
Okay.
But here there is a separate service in there. You don't need any public network. You don't need directly. We can directly connect to the private network by using Azure Bastion service. By using the
Okay.
Bastion service. Here it acts as a jump box and also protect VM threats like port scanning and simply manage by centralizing access to a single secure entry point to the virtual network. It's basically suited for the private VMs. Those doesn't have any public IP address. Doesn't have a public IP address. Tomorrow we'll see that how the Azure Bastion service is created. Then by using the Azure Bastion service, even though the virtual machines are in private network, still we can connect by using Azure
Mm-hmm.
Bastion service. Okay?
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, tomorrow I'll see you. Okay?
Okay. Okay,
Okay.
brother. Thank you.